In this demonstration, we're going to look at the new forecasting module that's built into Infor CRM 8.4.03. We looked at a previous video where we showed quotas and how those operate within the system. And quotas in the new forecast module are somewhat tied together. So we're starting by looking at the new opportunity forecasting dashboards. So these are built upon the forecasts that we added into the system, which we'll take a look at next. So when we go into the forecast area on the nav bar, like all the entities within Infor CRM, we get to see those as either a list view, which we're looking at here, and of course we can build groups and further filters over on the right. And if we go into this first one for Lee Hogan, we'll see that his forecast, which is built upon opportunities that have the date range, that fall into the date range that we selected for this forecast, and they belong to Lee Hogan, in this case, as the assigned to manager. And then finally, if we look at this phase 6, for example, opportunity, you'll notice that the add to forecast checkbox is checked. So that's the other requirement for opportunities to be considered as fulfilling or adding to a forecast, is they have to have that add to forecast button checked, and in this case we do. So let's go back to Lee's forecast again. So you'll see all the opportunities that are part of the forecast that he chose within this date range. We also have an audit tab that shows you all the changes, any updates that have been made to any of those opportunities. We also have a forecasting worksheet. Now this is where I'd mentioned earlier where, because this date range for this forecast equals one of the quota date ranges that we have for Lee Hogan of $2,120,000, that particular quota is in force during this time period, which is where this number is coming from. Then we see some other metrics on here, like the total dollars that are closed and won for all the opportunities that were considered in this particular forecast. He's at about 80% of his quota retirement, so he's doing good there. And then we see some summary information for weighted average and potential. And then over here is the total. So it has to be in the forecast to be in the pipeline, but then the system is also looking at all of his opportunities that are open that he did not check the forecast checkbox, which is what these totals are on the right hand side. And you'll notice a little arrow over here, and that's going to let me set as the forecast amount. So maybe Lee is confident that in this time period he's going to hit this average, so we can hit this average arrow and it changes the amount of this forecast to 1.8 million and something. So a little bit short of his quota, but pretty close. Next we have snapshots. And snapshots allow me to click this little camera icon and take basically a picture and memorize the state of this forecast on this date. So I clicked this earlier before today, and so we have a snapshot in time of what his forecast was and his closed amount and whatever quota was in force at the time. And so you can continue to take snapshots over time and build kind of a trail of how he's progressing through his quota. Finally, we have, if we go back to the list view here, you'll notice that we have another area called the forecast pipeline. So even though you can build groups here, that's a traditional sort of list view in Infor, but the forecast pipeline is another way to view the data in a consolidated way. So rather than looking just at Lee's forecast, we can actually see multiple sales reps' forecasts at one time and build groups of those numbers using the same capability you're used to with building groups in Infor CRM. So more of a higher level summary type of dashboarding capability. And then as we started from here today, we've also got this traditional dashboard, which is using some of the graphical widgets instead of just the numbers like we looked at in the forecast pipeline area. So this allows you to build any type of widget, by adding content like you can with any of the Infor CRM dashboards, except it's driven off of the forecasts area of the system. So this is all included too. This is all standard right out of the box with 8403. So that's what I wanted to show today regarding the new forecasts module built into Infor CRM 8.4.03.